Hey Gingy, how's it going today?
Good. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. It's great to have you on. This is uh something I like I said before, I've done this before where I've interviewed like one or two women on OnlyFans, but I feel like every single one has a different story, and I think it's interesting always to hear your perspective and what your situation is like just because there's I mean this website's huge. I think I just saw too that Floyd Mayweather had an OnlyFans hat on during the Logan Paul. Do you watch boxing? Have you heard of this at all?
No, I know it went on. I slept all day yesterday, but I did hear a lot about it. And
Yeah.
honestly, at the end of the day, it's all entertainment. So props to them. But yeah, the site itself is getting more and more out there. Um, and I personally love it. So,
Yeah. Well, I know you love it. You're on it.
right?
This is what you do. So I'm going to be brutally honest with you, okay?
Okay.
Cuz I don't want to lie here. I don't tell guys to use OnlyFans. So I actually say that. I say if you are trying to use OnlyFans as a way to get your fix of loneliness, I say that you need to stop doing that and go and actually meet women in person because a lot of men are doing it in place of that. So I know that that's probably like something you wouldn't want to hear, but I'm just being honest. I don't have anything against it. I just think that guys might get addicted to that and it might take them away from meeting women. What do you think about that?
No, I would completely agree with that. If I were dating someone, I wouldn't want someone to have subscriptions because at the end of the day, one, you have me, and two, it kind of plays into the negativity and the psychology behind social media. So, in my eyes, yeah, if you're trying to meet someone in person, finding them on an OnlyFans app is not the way to go about it. Me personally, if someone were
Well,
to
they won't, right? Have you ever dated anyone off of OnlyFans?
No, and I've actually had multiple men ask me to like go outside of OnlyFans and me and even some people will say I'm not interested in you in this way, like I actually want to get to know you, so on and so forth. And for me personally, I would never mix those two together because at the end of the day, the intentions aren't as they would be as if you met someone organically in person.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a that's for sure. It's a whole different beast. So before we get even deeper, let's talk about you so the guys know who you are and how you got into this. So when did you start doing an OnlyFans account? How old are you now? How old are you now and when did you start?
So I'm currently 27, about to be 28 in August, and I started OnlyFans last March. I think it was mid March. So I've been doing this about a year and a couple months.
Okay. Did you see traction right away?
I did, yes. I think it. So for me, I really
Well, you
thought
got
of.
a good you got a unique brand, right? The Gingy.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually started the Gingy when I did fitness competitions, and I used to be a competitive bikini bodybuilder.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's I feel like it's already been kind of part of me, and we'll dive a little bit deeper in like the extent I go on my OnlyFans and all that, and kind of my psychology behind it. But I it was literally right before coronavirus hit. I had just quit a marketing agency that I was with, and I've always been the person I will never work for someone else to a certain extent. Like never have a 9 to 5. I will eventually start my own business. But I kept hearing the word OnlyFans, OnlyFans, OnlyFans. And I was like, what is this? What is this? And kind of to revert a little back, I've always lived two different lives. I've always been the Gingy that everybody knows. Um, but I was always a little risky, especially when it came to the bodybuilding. I mean, at the end of the day, I was still posting pictures on my Instagram where it was like bikini photos because it is a very sexualized sport because you are judged on your body. And then so with this OnlyFans, I was like, let me see, let's see where it goes. And it was right before it blew up. So I thought a lot about it and figured out what my boundaries would be and all this stuff. And the second persona that only so many people know is I have this like crazy sexual side. And in the sense, and it's more of like an educational base because they only teach you so much in school. And I believe that you can only do as much as you're taught. but there's this whole world out there that's like taboo, quote unquote. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, we're all having sex, we're all masturbating. Like, why is this not more accepted and more normal to talk about, almost in a sense? So I was like, might as well just try it. Like, it's part of me. And honestly, since doing OnlyFans, I feel like I have become more of who I fully am, and I live a happier life. Like, I'm just more like divinely of who I am as a person.
Are you ever afraid of friends, family finding the OnlyFans or even finding this video? You're going to be on YouTube.
No, so I'm really, really blessed that from the very beginning, my mom has known absolutely everything. I mean, she even knows the stuff that I post. My extended family, they do know, but they don't know to the extent. But at the end of the day, if they were to find out, I don't mind, because my philosophy in life is try everything once, because you don't know if you're going to like it or not. Now, some people will say, yeah, but this stuff can haunt you for the rest of your life. Like, what if you decide to do this is this? But my whole thing is, this is who I am right now. This is what I'm going to do. And we can also talk about the boundaries that I have for myself. So I personally, on my page, I don't do boy girl stuff. I do everything solo, because again, as I stated previously, it's like, we all masturbate. We all do this stuff. I'm open about it, and I'm also willing to educate more people about it. Now, is
Educate
that
people about what?
I guess in a sense of masturbation or certain like fetishes and kinks, and it to become more normalized rather than this like top secret, do it behind closed doors type of thing.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. So when you do your OnlyFans, what are you doing solo? I mean, are you taking off all the clothes? Are you doing masturbation stuff? Like, how far are you going with it?
Yeah, so the farthest I go is self masturbation.
Okay. What is the weirdest request you've received that you fulfilled?
I will fully admit this: peeing on the ground.
Okay, I thought you were going to say the Bible because I've heard that one before.
Peeing on a Bible?
Yeah. Yeah, so another OnlyFans girl that I had on told me she has gotten requests uh, from guys to defecate, pee on different types of Bibles, the Koran, the Bible. Um, yeah, I mean all kinds of
That's
crazy stuff.
wild.
Even like what's it called? Like shaming the person based on their religion or their race, saying very bad words to them. That's requested.
Oh wow.
So okay, so that's the weirdest thing. So peeing on the ground. Was it a video or a picture?
It was a video.
How much did you make for that one?
I think it was 75.
Okay. I'd charge more for that next time, maybe.
So that's an interesting topic that we can go into, is about pricing. Um,
Yeah. So how do you price your stuff?
so my subscription is $14.99, and every once in a great while I will have a sale. But the reason why I price it in the middle is because if you do pay for that subscription on my feed, every once in a while I do show fully topless, but everything else is added on for PPVs, which are the pay per view messages that you can send out. The reason why I have that is because a lot of people do have the philosophy of setting your subscription at a lower, but for me, I believe that that attracts a lot of people that don't have the money. Whereas when you subscribe in a middle range to high range, it's someone who has the money who's willing to spend more money. Is that the case for everyone? Absolutely no. But I personally like to keep my follower count at a lower, but I get paid just as much as someone if they have double, if not triple, the amount of followers or subscribers.
Do you ever listen to the Sletcherpreneur podcast?
That is by, I'm pretty sure, is it, what is her name? What is her name?
Well, Anna, I think is her name.
I think I found her off TikTok, and I'm pretty sure I've heard a couple of hers.
So she came on the podcast, and she talked about some things, and yeah, I would just recommend you if you're trying to grow your OnlyFans to listen to that podcast because she talks all about that. But it sounds like you already know a lot. Do you feel you know enough where you could teach a girl how to do this?
Absolutely. And for me personally, this is a side income. It's not my main focus, and I do really well for how I do it.
What's the other work that you do?
I work in the cannabis industry.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I do Monday through Friday, and I'm also starting other businesses. So I mean, don't get me wrong, OnlyFans is definitely a huge part of what I do, but I'm also not the type of person to put all my eggs in one basket.
What percentage of your income is coming from OnlyFans?
I would say it's a 50. It's 50-50 right now.
Okay. How much do you make from OnlyFans, like per
I
month?
I do around 10K per month.
Okay, 10K per month. Damn, that's a lot.
That's why I like
That-
people everybody has their different philosophies on like how they set up their pricing and stuff. And for me, what I do, it works for me. And so could I always become better? Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always tips and tricks that I'm learning, but for what I personally have and how much time and effort, it evens out so well that I can't complain.
How much of that are you reinvesting? Like, do you have to, like, uh, buy new clothes, outfits, whatever?
I don't really budget all of that right now. Just in the sense, a lot of that is all tax write-offs for me as well. So I kind of just put it up as a taxable thing and continue on. Um, but for me, what I've also realized is during a certain period of time, I was putting way too much effort into it. And when I say way too much effort, it was too detail oriented. I'm a very very detail oriented person, so I was trying to come up with, for example, like Valentine's. I did 4 different looks, and I made sure to do pictures, videos, gifts for every single look, and then I do like my usual month I call spicy video of the month with it, which is my self masturbation video. um, and it was just taking me such a long time to do because at the end of the day, I do everything myself. So I am the photographer, I am the editor, I am the camera person, I am the creative director, I'm the stylist. I have to do my hair and makeup, I have to figure out my outfit. So I'm doing all of that. So that in itself takes about 5 hours, give or take, plus the actual shooting. So I have to put a mirror
Mhm.
behind my camera and the Bluetooth remote and making sure that I'm doing getting all of that. So I was putting all that effort and I didn't see the return in it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of guys that do subscribe to OnlyFans, they want the like girlfriend experience, as in like the pictures and the videos are like if you were to send to a significant other, which take really not much effort into it. Other than like if I do want to get like dressed up and stuff.
So, okay, I don't know exactly how it works. So when you sign up,
Hmm.
so let's say I sign up, or okay, I sign up. I want to subscribe to you, so I pay you
We
to
put
subscribe. Go ahead, explain how it
Well, I
works.
was just gonna say, so you pay for
Because it
this.
sounds like there's a subscription, but plus that you can pay for personal stuff.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
explain that.
So you initially, to get inside, you have to pay for the subscription. My personal subscription is $14.99. As soon as you get into the website, it almost looks like a Facebook feed. So you're going through it. You can comment, tip, um, tip. I think there's one other thing, but I can't think of it at the top of my head.
So I'm paying 14.99 to see your feed.
Correct. And with that, so me personally, I know some girls that do, I don't ever delete anything. So you can scroll all the way back to the beginning of my OnlyFans. And so I think right now I have over like 500 pictures and probably we'll say like 100 videos or gifs involved with that. So for
So
14.
what's the theory behind that? Because it sounds intuitively, it sounds smarter to delete them so it keeps people on longer, but you're not doing that. So what's the reason behind that?
I've never really thought about to delete them because for a long period of time, because one, I think it's interesting from even myself to kind of go back and you see the growth, because even when I first started, I wasn't producing the type of work that I produce now. One, because I'm a lot more comfortable with it, and I'm a little bit more open, because at the beginning of it, of course, I was still very nervous, I was shy, I didn't know fully if this is what I wanted to do until after a couple months, I was getting more and more involved with it. So for me, I don't delete, but I don't show anything like too provocative on my feed. So in that sense, a lot of it I don't post on my personal like Instagram, so you're not going to find the content anywhere else, which is like a tip, or not a tip, but one of the like highlights of subscribing to me. Um, but I don't post anything like too provocative so that you're still getting to see the more intense stuff if you pay for it.
And then how do they do that on the site or the app? Like,
So I always send out, usually per week, I'll send like 2 to 3 PPVs, which are the pay-per-view videos. So you can mass DM everybody that subscribes to you, and it's locked. So what's cool about it though is you can put a preview on it. I like to do previews because at the end of the day, one majority of the subscribers are going to be men, and they do want, I don't know, I feel like they're visual creatures, I would say, as men are. So I like to put a little preview. I feel like once I started doing previews, I get more people to entice to buy as well. So if you are interested, you like click it. It says, pay to view, and then you click pay, and then you get the video. And you also get the video for as long as you are on the website.
got it. Okay. So, question, would you ever do pornography
I would not.
for any amount of money?
Nope. I'm not a money driven type of person. At the end of the day, I do this because I fully enjoy it, and I think that's why I do have as much success as I personally do with the way I do things. Because I always make sure, like, I never put out content that I don't want to put out. I never make content just to get that money, because I feel that
So
if you
why are you doing it? What's the biggest reason?
I honestly enjoy it. It's part of me. It's really part of me. I also do, I will have to say, like, if we're going to go into like kinks and fetishes, I would say it is kind of a kink for me to know that people are watching me.
So it's a turn on for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what's interesting. First of all, I asked that question because I knew you were going to say no to doing pornography. I just had a feeling. And what's so interesting about your answer is this is the reason why OnlyFans is so big, because there is clearly a a sector of women that are not strippers. They're not in porn. They don't want to do those, but they would do this. And that and then that's you.
So I think the reason why is, one, it's ethical. I'm 100% putting out content that I want to put out. I'm putting out content that I want to make. Whereas a lot of people in the porn industry, they have a lot of managers that are asking them to do a bunch of scenes that they don't necessarily want to do. But they have someone in the ear saying, "Oh, well, if you do this type of scene, one, you'll get paid this, but also you might be, the next Riley Reid or the next Lana Rhodes or whoever porn star you can think of." When in actuality, is it possible? Absolutely. But do you want to go through all the detriment and all the mental games that you have to pay in order to do that? Whereas you can have this on, also a lot of those managers and stuff, they're taking out such a higher percentage. And I think that's why people are so drawn to OnlyFans, is because the platform itself is only 20%. I personally think that's a very good percentage.
So you get 80.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Whereas if you're doing, porn, a lot of those managers are taking, I mean, I can't fully say that this is exactly what they're taking because I've never been in that industry, and nor do I have close friends that are in that industry, but I know it's definitely way more than 20%.
Well, the thing is my guess is for pornography, it's not pay per view, you know?
Hmm.
It's they're getting paid as a job. Like, here's your job, show up on set, do the thing, you get paid this amount of money. And then the company that owns that content will make money off of it. I mean, it's almost like being
Correct.
an actor. It's like in the
Mhm.
entertainment industry. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of that. I do know that that is something that exists. I don't know if any women or take producer cuts or whatever, but yeah, you make a good point, right? You get all of that or most of that you might not get if you were doing something, um, yeah, like pornography. So that's interesting. So let's talk about relationships. So have you ever so first of all, why wouldn't you give a fan and OnlyFans a shot? Or maybe you would.
I personally would not, because at the end of the day, your intentions going to OnlyFans is is the intention to be sexually aroused. It's not to become a friend. It's not to get to know me on a personal level. Now it might turn into that for
They might feel that way though, psychologically, right? If they're texting you and you're texting them back.
but at the end of the day, you know that subscribing to me of what you're going to see. If you're trying to get to know me, my Instagram, slide into those DMs and actually put more than just like an emoji or like, hey, or I have a question for you. I mean, there are ways to slide into, because at the end of the day, everybody checks their requested DMs. It's not that, no one's not, but it's how you go about, what you say in those messages. So for me personally, if someone's going to subscribe to my OnlyFans, but they're trying to meet me outside of it, I just don't believe that in the intentions is let me get to know her on a personal level rather than just a sexual level.
So what happens when they slide into your DMs? Do you ever do any deals outside of OnlyFans?
No,
So you get 100% of the cut?
no, because OnlyFans is a protection because you do sign a contract, and if anything does get leaked or if anything doesn't go through all the way, that's on them. And you sign when you join the site, you sign to be a part of that. Whereas if I were to take the time to try to do everything outside, there's too many risks, and I personally don't have the time. Nor again, I'm not. This is not my only way of income. So for me, I like to keep that part of my life. If you want anything of that sort from me, you can go through there. And if you're trying to go, you're not going to be able to get it anywhere else.
What about the stuff that gets leaked though? You see those things on the internet like leaked OnlyFans, da 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 da.
I personally can't talk too much about it because it's never happened to me.
Okay.
And then I think that's another thing that you have to go into the site knowing that it could possibly happen.
Hmm.
But I feel like there's enough resources out there that if it were to happen, you can get it taken down. You can go about the ways that you would like to go about it to get it resolved.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. All right. So back to relationships.
Mm.
Have you? When's the last time you were in a relationship? When's the last time you were on a date?
Oh, on a date? Ooh, I don't know. I go on them all the time.
Okay. How do you meet guys?
Through in person, honestly. I tried to do the meet someone through Instagram, and it was the dumbest thing of my life because I don't know. It's so hard because when you do have a on the larger following, you never know when someone's full intention. And I just believe more in organic, meeting people organically, because I do believe that I don't know. I've never really been a part of the dating apps. Don't get me wrong. I've definitely tried, but I personally have never had success. I have many friends that do have success, but for me personally, I just believe it more organically.
So where are you meeting them then organically?
Through other friends, or because I do OnlyFans, I do a lot of photo shoots. I'll meet people that way. I through other friends. So I do live half in Vegas and I live half in LA. So moving to Vegas, I've met some people that way.
What does that mean you have there? How does that work?
So I recently moved to Vegas in November. So I do have a full on place there, but because of
That's so cliche, by the way.
what?
Well, of course, an OnlyFans girl would be living in Vegas.
Oh, I don't know. I did it for taxes, rent. I mean, Vegas is just way better
It's
than.
cheaper.
Yeah. So I moved there in November. At that point, I was actually only doing OnlyFans, and I kind of got bored because for OnlyFans does not take up, for me personally, it doesn't take up as much time as I wanted to. I'm the type of person, I love to stress myself out. I feel like that's when I'm most productive. So I actually had the friend that I was working for in the cannabis industry, and they were like, "Come back, we want you." And I was like, "Well, I'm not really doing much here, so that's why I do half here and a half in Vegas now."
Okay, got it. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I was born in Ohio, but I've been in Southern California for the past 16 years.
What made you go out there?
To California?
Yeah.
My mom always wanted to end up here, and my stepdad made it happen. So
Okay.
I'm actually really, really thankful that I grew up in California rather than Ohio, because my family's still back over there, and
Hmm.
just it's a totally different way of living,
Yeah.
totally different, and the mentality is very different. I'm very much into like entrepreneurship and creating your own things and working for yourself, and I don't think I would have the same opportunities that I have today if I were still in Ohio.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So back to the dating.
Yes.
Has a guy ever found out that you were an OnlyFans after you guys were dating for, I don't know, however long?
No, because I believe in being upfront right away. Because again, this is who I am. If you want to be a part of it, great. But if you don't, like, my life continues, your life continues. Like, peace out, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So you tell them right away.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's pretend we're on a date right now. I want to hear I want to hear it. I want to hear like how you say it,
I do OnlyFans.
just
I'm
like
I
that.
like I'm really really open. Like
Well,
I don't mind.
does it sound like a confession? Like, hey, so I just want to let you know.
No, I think like it comes up naturally in a conversation. Like after you start to get to know someone, it's more or less like, oh, so hey, what do you do? And then I say, I'm like, oh, well, I do. A lot of times I will start. Oh, I have my own business, like online business. And then when people ask, oh, what exactly is that? I'm like, oh, well, I do OnlyFans. And then it always goes into the questions of like, how far do you go? How long have you been doing it?
Oh,
Where do you
guys,
see
it's why the
yourself?
same questions that I've been asking you.
Yeah. So like for me, I've actually been I feel like a lot of men are shocked by my answer because at the end of the day, this is not what I'm trying to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to ride the wave as long as I possibly can because one, it fits my lifestyle, it fits who I am. I feel that I've become more true to who I fully am.
Hmm.
I've also learned a lot of things. Like I really don't care what other people think about me because again, this is who I am. Like be a part of it or don't be a part of it. I totally
Good for
don't
you.
mind.
Good for
Uh,
you. I
and
respect
and
that.
and also like people don't understand like OnlyFans is a full-on business. You have to learn marketing. You have to learn a lot of strategies. You do have to be consistent on it because if you aren't fully treating it like a full-on business, you're not going to do well. And I think that is why I've done so well is because I have fully made it a business structure that I could replicate it, give it to someone else, and they could do just as well on it
Hmm.
if they put in the work and the dedication in it. So
Right.
kind of going back to like dating and bringing it up is
Yeah.
I always say, kind of what I just said, I'm going to ride the wave as long as I possibly can because it's another stream of income. But eventually, like, my biggest thing in life is to help other women become more divine and shine more into the light of who they fully are. And I think a lot of that comes through knowing yourself. I mean, when it comes to masturbation and these, other sexual kinks and fetishes, I personally didn't touch myself until I was 25 and I'm 27. And because again, like when you go back into sexual education, the schooling all they I don't even think they teach sex ed anymore. But a lot of times it's just ew, girls have periods, girls have babies, but this is how you jack off a man. This is how you please a man, and it's never about the woman. And they also teach us the different like that women should be against other women, and it's like, whoa, no, like each woman is their own goddess. Like you should support them, you should help them. And I feel that a lot of women become more in tune with that when they start to please themselves. Um because because one, you become more of like, again, like this is who I am. Like I don't need a dick to get me off. Like I can do it myself. And half the time, I mean, I always believe that you do get different orgasms when you're doing it yourself versus when you're doing it with a guy. With yourself, personally, I have better orgasms in the sense of I can make them go longer. Like there's just a lot more that you can do. And it's a very spiritual thing for me because at the end of the day, I know this might go a little sideways from this conversation, but you can manifest during orgasms, and that's like a whole different topic.
I
But
think I've
that's
heard of
why,
this before. Like
but that's what
manifest anything.
because when you're orgasming, you're at a fully different vibration than what you can get at is if you. I mean, it's close to meditating almost, like a deep meditation. So they always suggest, not they always, but the research that I've done is if you truly want something and you want to, get to the highest level frequency of manifestation, orgasm, doing it while you orgasm is really, really helpful.
So what does this do exactly? So you're manifesting something you want besides the orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then this puts it out into the universe and the universe says yes, or how does that work on a practical sense?
I don't fully know how to do it on a practical level because for me, like that's what I believe in, and I think that for
But where's
anybody,
the
if you
magic? Like what happens? just so I can understand, like what happens there when you're manifesting. You said you're at another vibrational level. I just don't understand it exactly.
Well, I think so. I think it's the difference between like if you constantly are at a, if you're constantly like talking bad about yourself, if you're constantly, jealous. I mean, there's a bunch of different characteristics like jealousy, envy, anger. Like those are very low vibrational frequencies that you can be at.
So you're
Rather,
empowering yourself.
yeah, but you're also, but it's the whole, if you are positive, if you, help other people, if you encourage other people, like you're putting yourself at a higher frequency. And I think that when you're orgasming, you're already like, because they always say when you manifest, you have to not only think it, but you have to feel it. So when you're in that orgasm, you're at like your highest euphoria state, which is why they believe that manifesting during that time, it helps you bring in more manifestation. Don't get me wrong, you still got to put in the work and the effort. I mean, it's not just like you orgasm, you manifest this, and it's gonna come to life. Like you of course at the end of the day have to put in the work.
Right. This is it's like The Secret, but like XXX version of it.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Make things come to life. Yeah, there you go.
Figuratively and literally.
That's the new slogan. So all right. So where were we? Dating. So you're not dating anyone right now. Do you want to be dating someone? Do you have a goal with the relationships? Do you want to get married, have kids, all that stuff?
So if it's in my cards, yes. I'm a very free spirit, free flowing person.
I can tell.
I used to be very much like I need a boyfriend or I want a boyfriend and I want this, I want that. But now I'm kind of like, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, great. But I'm so focused on myself, as I believe that everybody should, that if you continue doing you and doing the things that you want to do and surrounding yourself around the people that celebrate you, if it's meant to be for you, it will come for you. But you can't,
Do you want kids?
I would love to have kids if it's in my cards. But
Would
I wouldn't.
Don't you get worried though that if you're not somewhat focused on that, that you're going to be too old to have children, or just be old and have children, older than you'd like?
No, because again, like if it, I'm not gonna pressure anything. I feel like that's kind of a horrible stigma that we have in our world, is that like you need to go do this, you need to go do this. This is the timeline it has to be at. When in actuality, like
Well,
everybody's on their own
biologically,
journey
that makes sense, right? Biologically.
biologically, but I'm only 27, almost 28. I have until what, like 32? I mean, so many things can happen within 6 months. You just never know.
No, I
So I
hear
mean,
that. I hear
if I
that.
put it out there, yeah. So if I put it out there and it happens, great. But if it doesn't, like I'm not gonna beat myself up, because I feel like when you put these huge expectations on these types of things, you're just gonna disappoint yourself when it doesn't come out the way you want. I mean, look at how many people I mean, even for this, like look how many people go into their thinking that like, oh, the 9 to 5 job is the only way to make money, this. And then, 30 years down the line, they're still working that same job, still making the minimum, or they're capped off at making only 50, 60K a year. And they're like, why is so and so doing half the work and they're making 3 times what I am?
Hmm.
You just set yourself up for like the worst expectations, and you can't.
Right. No, I mean, I like that. You're thinking outside of the box. You're trying to think bigger
Hmm.
than who you are. Um, so that's interesting. That's very interesting. I'm curious. Do you have other friends like you who think on this level, or ones who are doing OnlyFans? Do you surround yourself by people like that, or is it a different type of friend group?
So what's funny about me is I'm the most wild out of most of my friends. But
That doesn't surprise me too much.
but a lot of people, I would have to say it helps my friends in the long run. I've seen a lot of my friends become more of who they are because they become a little bit more open to things. Because I'm never the type of person to pressure anybody. Because at the end of the day, what you do is what you do. If you're happy with it, I'm happy for you. And it should be vice versa. Like I only surround myself around people who appreciate who I am as a person, and there is no judgment, because I never pressure, like my way is not the only way to do life. I mean, everybody has their own ways, and because everybody looks at the world in such a different way. But I'm very open. And I think that's what a lot of my friends appreciate, is that because I'm so open, it helps other people become more open, and you learn more when you're more open. I mean, I'm sure a lot of my friends would have never even known about OnlyFans and the amount of money you can make, or even just in a sexual aspect of like masturbating, trying new toys, learning about new kinks and new fetishes. Like for me, it's so much more fun, and I love learning in that aspect. And I think that's also another reason why I truly enjoy OnlyFans, is because when people do come up with like different kinks and fetishes, like I like to do my
What's
own
an example
research.
of that?
Okay, so one that I still find very, very interesting, but I'm also realizing that it's a more and more common, is I don't know the exact name because it's a very hard word to pronounce. But growing up, there's the movie like Jaws, where they swallow someone whole. And there's a couple other like movies and anime that where it's like a whale or a shark or even like giants will swallow little people, and that's actually a fetish. So I've done videos of that sort where I get gummy bears and you act like it's them and you act like you're swallowing them. I think it's called Glore something, I'm pretty sure. I'd have
Every time I hear, I think I know everything until
but but
unbelievable.
but
So
this is what's so interesting, is because it's the psychology of us growing up, and then it kind of goes into like our childhood traumas, or like how we learned the way that we learned and why we learned. Like so for me, it makes me sad when people are not open to kinks and to fetishes, because again, like you can't shame someone for liking a certain thing, or because you don't know their history, you don't know their past, and you also don't know the psychology of why they may like it. And at the end of the day, a lot of these fetishes and kinks come from, us having certain like abandonment problems from maybe our parents, or seeing certain things that our parents did, or even the programming that we won't get into all that, but the programming that we're involved in.
what's interesting is when I hear the swallowing whole, it sounds like almost you're going back to the womb. That's like my first thought there, of
Hmm.
like, I don't know if it's the what I mean, I don't understand the turn on exactly, like if it's the act of it or what happens after it. I don't know. But wait, so what do you do with the gummy bear?
So for this person, they wanted me to take the gummy bear, and then I would have to keep my mouth open as much as I possibly could. But I would like zoom in on my mouth, and like seeing my molars chew them and talking about how good you taste, or I can't wait to eat you. I'm so hungry. Like those are the certain things that they wanted me to say, and then I would have to try to swallow the gummy bear like full on with my mouth open. I wasn't. I mean, I was like decently okay at it, but but yeah, in the moment, don't get me wrong, it felt so weird to do because it's very different. Like we're not fully. They don't teach us these things. We're not exposed to these things, which is why
Yeah.
we find them so taboo. But now doing it, I'm like, it's not that it's second nature to me. Don't get me wrong in that. Like it would still be a little like difficult recording it just because it's very different still. But I don't ever like to shame someone because of what turns them on. I think it's more of like an educational and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting hearing the new stuff. I feel like there's gonna be an article that's gonna come out being like girls have died this year from choking on gummy bears. Like,
Well, they're small enough. There's some people, I
just be
mean, people,
careful.
you can even look it up, and like some people will like get full on microscopes that they can put down their lung or esophagus to show like the whole point of like whatever they eat going into their system, into their
Oh my
stomach.
God. We've
Yeah.
gone into now esophagus cams.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Okay, what's another one? Give me another interesting, unique one.
At the moment, that's really all I've gotten. Um, I mean, everybody knows like the feet thing is very popular, which
Yeah, the feet thing's
at
pretty
this
much
point,
no,
yeah.
almost normalized at this point.
But that's the thing, and that's why I think that the more of this should become more normalized, because again, like we all grow up different. We all see the world so different. We're all gonna have certain things that turn us on. I mean, some people
Well,
like even
now it's just coming to the surface, really.
right, right. But I think it needs to come even more to the surface, and people need to not be so like tripped out about it.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I was talking to my brother the other day, and we were talking. He's a psychologist, and we were talking about trans people
Mhm.
and the idea of what trans is and how that all works. and he was telling me how, there's all these people who are saying, um, isn't it crazy? All these people are turning trans all of a sudden. And my brother's like, no, no one's turning trans. It's not trending. It's that now there's a platform for people who have always been that way to come out and speak about that. Anyways, that triggered kind of what you said here. It's like about the foot fetish. It's like, it's not like feet is all of a sudden in. It's been probably a thing for so long, but now we have the internet, we have access to so much information and so many different people that it's come to the surface.
Well, and I think that's the beautiful thing of even OnlyFans itself is that people have an not an outlook. People have a way to find a community to so that they can understand as like the individual, like I'm not alone. Because think of like before the internet, before a lot of this was popular, people. I mean, Reddit's another huge forum that I'm sure a lot of people use to find these things and find these communities, but it's I find it very like it's helping other people know that they're not alone and that they're not weird or they're not abnormal for having an interest or having a spark when it comes to these different things that aren't necessarily full on the surface of like quote unquote normal.
Yeah. Although it just goes a little far when we're talking about pooping on the Bible.
You know, to each their own.
Just gotta say, that's a really, really interesting one. But
Correct.
one
Correct.
day
Correct.
you're gonna get that request and you're gonna think of this
I hope I
conversation.
don't.
I'm just
I
telling
really
you,
hope I don't.
enough time on that site, you will definitely get it.
Possibly.
Awesome. Well, this was a fascinating conversation, and I appreciate you coming on and telling us about the business of OnlyFans and your personal experience. Where can guys find you if they want to learn more or see more of you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is the Gingy underscore. So it's the, and then Gingy is GINGY underscore. And then once you find my Instagram, all my other links are in my bio. But if you want to subscribe to my OnlyFans, it's just OnlyFans slash the Gingy underscore again.
Now, we were going to talk real quick about TikTok. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. So I'm curious about this. I see a lot of these women on Only or who are on OnlyFans using TikTok as a way to advertise themselves. It's so obvious too when they do it, not because they're getting half naked and dancing around, but that they put in their bio, check out my Instagram, right? Like they really get
Mm.
people to go to their Instagram, and right away, okay, there's a reason because there's a link there. So first of all, is that what you do? Have you done that before, or
So
what's your strategy there?
I definitely use TikTok because it is the fastest organic platform. With that being said, it's contributed a lot to my success, but I also have gotten permanently banned. And so I had to switch up my marketing strategy up a little bit because
What
they
got you
already
banned, or do you know what got you banned?
I just had too many strikes. So it was also the way. So a lot of people, which here's a tip for anybody that wants it. Um, Originally, when I started my TikTok, I was interested in too many things. Like I was liking cleaning videos, I was liking organization videos, I was liking other girls that do quote unquote thirst trap stuff. I was liking people that did music. So the array of my audience was very diverse. And so, because if I would put behind the scenes modeling, if I was in lingerie, it would get flagged because quote unquote Karens would probably flag it down. Um, so, because when you diverse yourself too much on those platforms, it automatically thinks that those are the type of people that would want to see your stuff. So it shows it, I'm sure, I don't know if people know, but your first 2 hours, it only shows to like 10%. If that does well, the next 2 hours, it goes to a bigger pool. After those 2 hours, that's kind of when it will go viral. So I had to restart it, and I actually only follow and interact with other people that do cosplay, other thirst traps, and I have been perfectly fine that way.
Okay.
But for me as well, because TikTok is still like, because at the end of the day, a lot of these platforms don't like women putting their OnlyFans bio in there because these women are making more money than the platform itself. And of course they don't like that,
Mhm.
especially Instagram. I mean, Instagram is pay to play at this point. So for me, if I know that if someone truly wants it, they'll go out and find it. So I have everything linked on my Instagram, but through my TikTok, you can only find my Instagram. But I don't put anything like check my bio or check my Instagram because, again, if someone truly wants it, if someone's truly invested in it, they're going to find a way.
Right, right. Very interesting. Yes, because I'm on TikTok, and it's so interesting to see people are like banned. My second account, my last one got banned. Whatever. So very interesting. Well, Gingy, thanks so much for doing this and coming on here, and I appreciate your candidness and authenticity. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me on here. I had a wonderful time, especially talking about this. This is my first time talking about this, so I'm excited to put it out there.
Yes, well, I can see how passionate you are about it, and it definitely shows. So thank you very much for being on.
Thank you. Thank you.